Hey guys, Travis here at TI3, the big Dota international tournament, joined by Luminous, who's one of the casters here. Luminous, you're actually friends with Link, and I first met you at the LCS studio.
Yep. I was cheering for CLG then.
Yeah, cheering for CLG. So you're a CLG fan?
Oh, definitely.
Is that because they used to have Dota, or because you like Link, or how does it work out?
Link used to play Dota. He was pretty good there, but not good enough.
Okay.
So I was like, pretty trash.
Yeah.
He went to this other game and just headed off. So
There we go. So I'm glad this interview is getting off on the right start.
yeah, it's all good. No, Link and I are really good friends. I actually like to watch competitive League of Legends quite a bit, just to kind of see what's the difference, what I could pick up from there. Because I kind of feel that if you want to be good at video games in general, you should play a ton of video games. So I'm trying to learn League as much as I can.
So that's actually part of the reason why I wanted to do this interview, and maybe more than an interview, it's kind of like a discussion, because I'd love to sort of, you've seen a lot of League stuff, I'm here at this tournament sort of checking it out, so I'd love to sort of get your take on some of the differences. I mean, the first thing that strikes me is that, like, this is the big event for Dota, and it's really only the big one that Valve operates to my knowledge, whereas Riot approaches things with sort of the LCS, like, and I think there's a bit of a discussion to be had there. Like, do you think that this model is superior to like the LCS season thing, or are they just sort of different sides of the same coin? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not like really good with the economic things, so this is more or less my personal opinion. I think the way that Riot does things, it seems like it allows the game grow a lot faster because there's a lot more money injected into the scene, so you have more frequent tournaments. The players are, I guess, more exposed because of that. But what I'm worried about, I guess, in the Riot's model is how long it's going to be sustainable. Because you can't do this, well, I guess you can't do this for a long time. I don't exactly know the details. At least in this international, before the tournament actually happened, they had a players meeting, and one of Valve's goals is to make sure that in the coming year, we're going to have more player exposure, more in-game interaction with the players and the community, because I think that's how the player is going to be known. Because you could be tied to a team, but what if next year you switch off from Navi, which is a really well-known team, to, let's say, a lesser-known team, then maybe you lose all your fans. But I guess what Valve is trying to do is maintain that connection in-game with the players. And that's, personally, I think it's a really cool model. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm looking forward to that.
So it's kind of interesting because I know that Riot tends to, because they're producing their own broadcasts and they're doing all this stuff, they're more focused on pushing the personalities in the teams via like content and media. So are you, you said via the game, so do you think that, is that sort of, are they going to be building things in the game that sort of are representative of the players, like items and that kind of thing? Is that sort of where they're looking, do you think?
I think you could, again, I don't know what details they have really kind of locked down in a concrete manner, but something I've heard is, like, for example, if you're a Dota player, you could say, this player is my favorite player, and all your friends, all the people that you're playing against would know. Sometimes I think you could even play against that particular player. I don't know how that works because I don't know how one player could play with thousands of fans, but I guess that's kind of it.
So they're looking more towards like the in-game connection.
Yes, yes. Even for content creators, I heard that, again, this is not concrete or anything, but perhaps like YouTube creators could have their stuff in the Dota 2 engine, and then people could watch your YouTube videos in-game and still like earn revenues. Again, all of this is like nebulous region, so I don't know.
They're just sort of ideas that they're exploring.
Tossing around kind of thing,
So it's more, they're looking at more like surfacing the community content and the players rather than...
all within the game. Yeah. So you don't have to go to Twitch, you don't have to go to YouTube, you could get everything in the game. And I think that's pretty cool. So
I mean, that is actually pretty cool. It's very funny because Valve has always been more about like engineered solutions, like using like computer science, I think, whereas like Riot has always gone for like the more community-centric side, like creating, doing things even outside of the game. So I don't know, it's kind of funny to sort of see the two ways that they're going about it. What do you think of like the production that they've been able to do at TI3 here?
You mean like backstage and all?
Yeah, I mean just the whole show, right? Like the broadcast, the feel for people that are here. I mean, obviously you haven't had a chance to sort of see the stream because you're here casting, but what do you feel about the like the feel of the event?
I feel like a lot of I guess eSport events in general, one of the big downfalls is that the games are great, obviously, but in between games, there's always this long wait time, and people just kind of like tune away from the stream or walk away and just do other stuff, and sometimes they don't come back. But I feel like this year they have done a great job in terms of having actual good content in the middle. So shout out to Casey, who is a professional interviewer that's hired. So she's doing a lot of the player interviews and just walking around. My favorite parts of what she does here is showing the behind-the-scenes stuff. Obviously, I see a lot of it, but for the people out there that want to know, like, how is this produced, they show this like big truck at the back that has, all the wires. They show the players' lounge, or they show all this kind of stuff. So I think having really good content in between, instead of like just an overlay with some dubstep music playing in the background, really keeps people, at least a good majority of people here, and I think that keeps the stream going, that keeps people more excited, and I think that's great. So
Yeah, that filler content I think is, just to sort of continue the discussion, like something that I saw was missing from a lot of like the esports events. I think LCS is also sort of trying to bring that into with like the different kind of interviews and that kind of thing. So it's kind of neat to see both of these two tournaments happening. So one question I have is, there was yesterday I tweeted or whatever, and I said, it's kind of surprising I didn't see too many of the general esports media here. And I think I just sort of casually said, like, it's the biggest event for, in my opinion, the second biggest esport.
Right.
I actually got some trash from people who, because I had just inadvertently called it the second biggest esport. So I'd love to sort of hear from your perspective, like, where do you think Dota fits in amidst all the different games that are out there right now?
I mean, I think Total Biscuit said on Twitter a couple while back that he thinks viewer numbers, Dota 2 is going to go really far above League of Legends in a year or so. I think that's kind of paraphrasing what he says. Right. I'm not too sure because, again, going back to what I said earlier about the Riot model, League of Legends has such a wide exposure. And just from my personal friends, I have a lot of friends that plays League. Right. They're like, just come play League, come play League. Right. And I think League in general has a wider appeal. Whereas to me, if I'm trying to get my friends to play Dota, it's like this 20-hour crash course I have to give them, and then you're just sort of not horrible, but still really horrible. So I think Dota has a huge steep learning curve that might be a little like a huge barrier to entry for a lot of newer players. And because of that, I think perhaps Dota has they're going to take a little bit more time to kind of catch up to League. That's how I personally feel about it.
But you do feel as though, like, at some point in time they will catch up. Do you think it'll surpass League at any point in time?
That's really hard to say. I think it's really up to how the personality portrays themselves, how the teams portray themselves. Because a couple years in the past, we had a rampant problem of professional players not showing up to their official games on time. And as let's say, a sponsor, team manager, or just a fan of the game, you're waiting there for a game to start that's scheduled to start at 12, and you're looking at your watch, it's like 12:45, and players are not here. It's hard to support a game like that. But over the years, it's gone a lot better, and it's getting to a point where it's not a 45-minute, but like maybe a 10-minute wait. So hopefully, things will get a lot more organized, and I think with that, then we could make a great leap forward, and maybe one day go past League.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel as though Dota needs to grow past League in terms of esports size? I mean, for me, the feel for it's always been sort of what you said, League is sort of the more approachable game, and just because that ends up with like a bigger audience. And you can argue whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. But in the same sense, do you feel as though, like, as long as the Dota 2 ecosystem is really good, do you feel as though it ever needs to, like, get the numbers, or is this just sort of like the competitive spirit of the gamers and the fans that they want to get past it?
Well, I'm not sure. Like, as a fan of the game, I don't think so. Obviously, I'm a little bit more neutral in the whole Dota versus League thing. I'm not like, oh, you're a League person, I won't talk to you. Right. Like, obviously, I have Link as my friend. We play League sometimes. He played Dota with me a lot of times. As for more of like the business side, again, I don't know how true this is, but there's within the Dota community, they always talk about how, like, within that one esport tournament, you can't have League and Dota running side by side, and because that's, I guess, the Riot business model. And when that's happening, I think it's not healthy for esport in general, because I think if both games are happening and both games are successful, then that's great. But I feel like what's being done right now, it's like artificially forcing Dota on the back end, and I'm not sure how healthy that is for Riot on the long run. It's definitely not healthy for Dota in the long run.
So let's say in 2014, I mean, because I think you can look at the trend, and with LCS and with Riot's involvement, we're starting to see a lot of these like third-party events go away a little bit more. And so I think you're starting to see more events that are just dedicated to Dota and more League of Legends dedicated events. Do you think that would make it so that there's a little bit less of a tension between the two scenes if Dota just sort of had their own thing, League had its own thing, and we didn't have to battle over these events?
I guess having less event means less clashing dates, right. But sometimes clashes do happen. Like Blizzard and this weekend with
WCS and TI3.
like random stuff like that happens, and I'm not sure how closely Riot and Valve talk to each other about things like that. Maybe it's unavoidable to clash. So I guess it will happen because there's less events that clash, but I think it will still happen. So that's kind of my take on that.
One of the biggest questions is just, do you think that there needs to be more Valve events besides just the one international each year?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of having one of like the biggest tournament and only one, because you see teams breaking up. This is not like a profit protection or anything, but this is for sure we're going to see teams breaking up and then forming new rosters for upcoming years. And then we also had like a huge roster change up like 3 months before like the qualifiers, or even during the qualifiers. We have rosters kind of swapping in and out. I don't think that's healthy for the teams, because even though, like for example, right now a lot of Chinese teams are already eliminated from the tournament, but they had a long history of being very at the top professional levels, and they got there because they had teams staying around for 2-3 years at the same time. Whereas the Western scene's a little bit more volatile. Players are swapping, and I think really that comes down to only having one huge tournament, because that's like the only one thing to aim for. We had teams in the past where they're like, oh, we're not invited to TI, we're done for the year, let's take 3 months off. And I just don't think that's healthy for the scene. So I'm not saying this is Valve's fault, but maybe we need more tournaments that are perhaps higher in prize money, not exactly $1.6 million, but let's say 50,000. Just have bigger tournaments, more frequent tournaments with bigger prize pool, and that's healthier for the scene.
What do you think about Riot's model to be able to create like a salary for the players so that there's like a steady income for the teams?
From Valve?
Yeah, well, from Valve or anybody else who wants to sort of come in and create more of like an organized league.
I think that's already allowed. Sponsors are already playing their own players. I don't think anybody has tried to do a league system within Dota 2, because perhaps the sponsors are not feeling like it's a good investment yet. I think it's a viable option, but it depends on what kind of teams you get. Again, with instability in terms of team rosters, you can't just have 4 guys and suddenly tomorrow you have 2 different guys on the team. So I don't know how that's going to work out. That's a very interesting proposition.
All right, so I'll wrap up, but I have two more questions for you. One is, if you could take anything that you see over in the League of Legends esports scene and just draw it into the Dota scene, or apply it to the Dota scene, what would you like to see? Just one thing.
More interviews, more player interviews, because I think that's something. I mean, we see interviews here, but a lot. And again, this is no flames to all the players, but I feel like a lot of the players are a little bit awkward when they talk. I mean, this is your standard nerdy guy that sits behind a computer for a lot of hours, maybe lack social interaction, if you call it. But I think if you want to go further down, make esport like the Super Bowl, or make it a legitimate thing to your average American. Your players, your stars have to be approachable, they have to be likable, and having better speaking skills, having more interviews for the players to get to know the viewers, or the other way around, it's very, very important. I really like the fact that when I went to support CLG, after the game, they would like pull Link out or pull Double Lift out and be like, hey, how'd you do this game? I think you were asking somebody why he like missed, what is that summoner that supposed to eat?
Smite.
Smite. He missed Smite something, and it was spear damage, and he missed it. And he said, oh, like, there was like a nice interaction. I'm sure the viewer base loved it. Like, he made a mistake, he made a joke about it. I think more of that needs to happen for the Dota scene so that the viewers feel a connection to the players. Yeah.
And then final question, you're a more neutral personality, I can tell, because as we've sort of referenced, you talk to League guys. Do you think there's ever going to be a point in time where there'll be like a nice little harmony between League and Dota fans, and people will stop feeling so tense?
I don't know about that. I don't know why, but there seems to be like this elitist attitude in the Dota community, be like, oh, we're playing the more difficult game. We're playing the harder game. This is a better game. I play League for fun, and I have friends. I have a lot of real-life friends that do play League, so I don't feel this kind of hatred or any kind of antagonism. But I think I also know a lot of friends that are like, oh, you play League, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It might take a while. This might be like that kind of like Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, like, are different families. We can't coexist. But I hope one day that we'll just be like, oh, I'm a League player. I'm a Dota player. Let's go hang out or whatever and watch I don't know, DreamHack, I guess, or something. Yeah. So.
Well, for League fans that maybe want to check out your stuff, or even for fans of you that don't know where to catch your stuff, where can they find you?
My YouTube is Luminous Inverse, so youtube.com/Luminous Inverse. I used to do a lot of replay casts because back in the days there was no live events in Dota, or very little. So we just downloaded replay and cast from your Warcraft 3 or Dota 2. But now I do a lot more educational guides. So if you're interested into like trying out Dota 2, I have like hero guides, how to play this particular hero in a very in-depth and detailed way. I think my guides are best Dota guys online. So
Not biased though.
not biased at all. I just think they're good. That's what I'm focusing on right now.
You got like a Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter. It's also at Luminous Inverse. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. Congratulations on the cast here. It's been really cool to see you up here doing that. For everyone, this is Travis. You can check out the rest of our coverage of TI3, LCS, all the esports things at GameSpot.com/esports.